Hi, this is Mark Waid, writer of Superman Birthright, and you're listening to Krypton Report.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's the Krypton Report!
Host Tyler, and welcome to Krypton Report, a podcast dedicated to all things Superman, Supergirl. We're going to look at the Supergirl TV series as well as the Krypton TV series, anything that has to do with the characters in their world. Comics, movies, TV shows. We will talk about everything and anything. We are part of the Southgate Media Group podcasting network. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Krypton Report. You can also email us at kryptonreportpod@gmail.com. If you get a chance to go over to iTunes, Apple Podcast, please leave us a review to help us get better. You can find me personal at JTYPatrick on Twitter and everything else. You can buy a Krypton Report t-shirt at tpublic.com. Check it out. They have all sizes, colors, styles of shirts. Just go to tpublic.com and search Krypton Report, and you'll see our logo. And every time you buy a shirt, it helps support other podcasts from southgatemedia.com. Thank you. Enjoy the show. Welcome to this episode of Krypton Report. I have my buddy James here, and just wanted to make a statement that we're coming to you a little late because, for those who may or may not know, Junia, we suffered a small tragedy and with our family, so we've been kind of dealing with that, and we're kind of behind on things. The podcast is great. It's something we love doing. It's always a way to get our mind off of things, but we just haven't had a chance to sit down and catch up. And so James and I are here. We're going to kick off this episode with news, and we're going to kind of talk about things that have been in the news the past couple of weeks. And then we're going to get into Krypton, and so the next couple of episodes might be a little odd just because it's us playing catch-up for the past almost 3 weeks here. So, James, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Excited to talk about Superman and all things Superman. It's been a little while.
So, the first thing we're going to kick off here is we got a picture of Superboy in Young Justice 3. Which season 3 is being called The Outsiders, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like he has a mask on and like a gas chamber. And the mask is like covering the bottom of his face. It looks kind of like a painter's mask, like a breathing apparatus, like Shredder or something.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like a oxygen deprivation mask that people wear when they train for athletics.
Yeah, exactly. So that
I'm sure it has
cool.
more functions, but that's what it looked like.
I think Young Justice is always neat how they do the time jump between seasons. I'm really hoping they pick up the threads from the last season. Spoilers, if you've never watched Young Justice, stop this recording. Go find it, because it's not on Netflix anymore. Boo, Netflix. And whenever we get that WB streaming service, it'll be there. But what we learn about, ready? Spoilers. Darkseid was behind everything. So I'm hoping they kind of pick that up and continue that thread in the next season. So that was cool. Good old Superboy. The first image is Superboy.
It was some kind of lava monster or something is what I heard in the description, from the view, or from the image. And then, The Outsiders, from my understanding, that was a team at one point there in the comics. I believe probably back in the 90s, 2000 area.
Yeah, and it's coming back in the comics, because now it's like Batman and the Outsiders, and I think it has Metamorpho in it. It's kind of always had like a rotating roster, so I'm curious to see what we get with Young Justice. Something else was Jay Oliva, who I've talked to before on Twitter. Great animation director. Just off the top of my head, he did the Flashpoint Paradox DC film. He did the two Dark Knight Returns films, and he's done a lot of them. He was actually a storyboard artist and worked on BVS and I think Man of Steel as well. But he tweeted and talked about that the story that they had conceived for Superman was going to be spread out in 5 chapters. Well, I just thought this was kind of interesting. Chapter 1 being Man of Steel, Chapter 2 being BVS, Chapter 3 Justice League, and then a Chapter 4 and a 5. Oh, no, Chapter 3 was Justice League Part 1, Chapter 4 was Justice League Part 2, and then an unknown, untitled Chapter 5, which we can kind of assume would have been like more of a direct sequel to Man of Steel in some way, shape, or form. I just thought that was kind of an interesting concept. You know, like this arc in 5 chapters through these movies.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I wish we would have gotten the full aspect, of it, you know. There were probably plans for a Man of Steel 2, but once, Zack Snyder had, you know, pulled Batman vs. Superman out of the bag, you know, I'm sure Warner Brothers wouldn't let him put it back in.
He's always said that they made a comment about, at one of their meetings about, what if Bruce Wayne got, you know, a big delivery of kryptonite or something, and he said, once you bring up the idea of Batman entering, and you put that on the table, you really can't take it off. And that's how the whole BVS sequel idea came to be.
So, yeah, I mean, he probably had, you know, the ideas of Man of Steel 2 and things like that, but as soon as Batman was brought out, like, they were like, okay, that's that, so now where do we go from there? And then that's how they, you know, expanded into the 5 chapters from there, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, they've always said that, you know, it's been said that Zack Snyder with Man of Steel really was more of a director for hire, that he didn't have as much influence on story or script or anything. He was more visual, and his biggest change was the idea of Superman killing Zod, and that BVS was more straight up a Snyder story and film. And I can see that in the material, nothing wrong with that. But the 5 chapter thing is very interesting. Let's see. The Teen Titans Go to the Movies trailer has dropped. If you haven't checked that out, you're a fan of the Teen Titans Go, then, you know, check it out. I wouldn't exactly say that I'm a fan. I mean, I love the characters and the properties, but that's always one that kind of is like, I don't know what to do. Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy it. It's fun to watch from time to time. It's definitely not like this, it's definitely not, what Teen Titans used to be. And, you know, what the rest of almost any property on any level is, Marvel, DC. I mean, Teen Titans Go is something very, very much its own. It's, extremely meta about, the universe. What I did enjoy for my favorite part for the new trailer was, actually getting to hear Nicolas Cage's Superman talking. And surprisingly, it didn't sound out of place.
Cool.
To me, you know, I'm kind of excited that he actually gets to play Superman, and you know, maybe he'll be in it. Maybe they'll have a little more screen time. I hope they didn't just spoil all of Superman in that one bit off the trailer.
You know, I think I've heard people ask and bring this up, and I thought about this, like, how cool would it be if, the DC animated took some of these scripts and stories, and made them into animated films. And I think, you know, there's no way Tim Burton would direct it, but to do a Superman Lives in a Tim Burton vein, like, I don't know, get Henry Selznick to direct it or something, who's worked with Burton, who hasn't been doing much. And then out of all the people you had originally in the mind to cast, just get Nicolas Cage. Like, and then get other people who imitate the other people. You know,
right.
Down. But it'd be kind of neat to see that. I mean, it's been proposed to see animated sequels to the Keaton Batman, the Schumacher Batmans, you know, Superman Flyby.
Yeah, those ideas of making further further chapters in those stories from, say Burton or Superman Lives, ideas that didn't come to fruition. Those actually excite me. I would love to see those done in animated form, continuations. The Batman 66 revival with Return of the Caped Crusader and Batman versus Two-Face. It's just something that it's like unparalleled of bringing back these characters, that a chapter that's long gone, but still being able to do something new with it, like they did in the comics with Batman 66 and Wonder Woman 77. I was always hoping that they'd actually incorporate a Superman 78 or something in there. And
I'm surprised they haven't done something like that, done what they wish they would have done for Superman 4 or whatever. But it would be something really cool to see, even if they just made it into a comic book. Give us a trade to read or something with some art. Something else that just popped up was, I'm not familiar with her work, but Connor Leslie, she was in The Man in the High Castle, has been cast as Donna Troy / Wonder Girl on the Titans TV series. And just by the picture, she looks okay. She could do it, I guess.
She fits the description.
Wonder Girl is one of those characters I'm not super familiar with. I know there's Donna Troy, but then I can't remember if Donna Troy was the one that was blonde as well at one point in time, because the one on Young Justice was blonde. So cool,
Yeah, that's most of my knowledge.
There's been a couple more set photos released that just showed Hawk and Dove behind, in their chairs waiting in costume. Robin sitting around in costume waiting, camera not rolling, and they look great. So I'm really looking forward to this streaming service / Titans show launch. So
I hope we get that information this Comic-Con.
It would be great.
I hope.
Just something to be like, hey, the streaming service is set to roll out X date, so I can be like, sweet, sign me up. And then let's see, we got Arrow's getting a new showrunner, which I'm cool with because I think Arrow needs something to shake it up. I feel like this season of Arrow is not bad, but I feel like it's retreading a lot of stuff that was supposedly taken care of already. It's almost like they're making this season like the season 3 we should have had or something.
Right, maybe the season 4 we should have had.
That's what I meant. Not season 3, season 4. Okay,
yeah. Yeah, the season 4 we should have had after, because, they have, with season 3 when Roy decided to come out and say he was the Green Arrow and went to prison and, faked his death and all that. It doesn't really fit to me. Colton Haynes is not the same stature as, Stephen Amell.
Mm-hmm.
So for people to, you really had to suspend your disbelief to believe that he would have been, Green Arrow. Because, just the stature is totally different. The height, the build.
Yeah, I think it also goes to the fact that no one had really seen, he was still being called the Hood and everything at the time, so I don't know that anyone had a really good kind of idea of who or what he was. So, it did what it did for the show, but he's coming back for season 7, so
I'm excited about that. I do like Arsenal, and Colton Haynes did a really good job.
So, and then let's see, we're building up to a big one. We have I don't know what to call this movie, but basically it's not a Harley Quinn movie, but it's kind of like a revamped idea of the Gotham City Sirens, but it's being a Birds of Prey movie. And we have a director for it. And
Kathy Yan.
Yeah, like, I'm cool about it because I always thought it'd be fun to see, like when they talked about Gotham City Sirens, I'm like, why not, instead of trying to do a lot of solo films, why not try some of these films that have larger groups, like having the Birds of Prey versus, the Gotham City Sirens. And you know what? Cool, if that's what happens, if, they spin a Batgirl movie out of this, if it's, we really don't know what type of Batgirl we're getting, if it's Barbara Gordon, if it's Oracle, I just think it sounds cool, like an all-female movie of like heroes and villains, Harley and Ivy and throw in Catwoman would be awesome versus Batgirl, Black Canary.
Yeah, I think a large female ensemble cast, Birds of Prey movie, Birds of Prey versus the Gotham City Sirens type deal. I think that the whole female ensemble cast is a great idea. Over the years, the Bat family has gotten so large and so expansive. I mean, it's hard to believe that with all of the rogues involved with all of the characters that Batman's the only one who can take care of them these days,
Yeah.
So I think it would give that
they call Batman the loner, but yet he's got more sidekicks and partners than anybody.
right. I think it's a good idea to have, the females that he's been, interacting with, that they would be able to handle a team of female villains as well.
I mean,
like Batman's not the only one who can. Otherwise,
also,
why does he have all the sidekicks?
It's untested ground. Like it hasn't been a comic book film. I mean, everyone always going to compare DC and Marvel, but DC had the first solo female comic book film of substance with Wonder Woman, and that beat the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They're just now getting around to their female hero, who's not even as well known, which is Captain Marvel, and Captain Marvel is just a comic name that has so many problems attached to it already that my wife didn't know who Captain Marvel was. She thought it was a dude.
Right. Well, that's what Shazam. Yeah, that's who Shazam was for a very long time.
And that's why they changed his name. Like, there's that period of time where, people work for both companies and stuff, and a lot of stuff got copied and ripped off from each other or used just to kind of stab at each other. And, I had to explain how Captain Marvel's character at one point was Miss Marvel, and how that Marvel Girls was a completely different character who was Jean Grey, and But anyways, there hasn't been a female team-up movie of any sort, so it would definitely be something awesome. I think it'd be kind of neat if they did Harley Quinn and maybe even brought back Katana, just to kind of maybe keep some of the, the female threads from Suicide Squad. But
yeah, that's actually a very interesting idea. That would be really cool. She could almost straddle the line, as it were. Mm-hmm. She's more of a hero, but I mean, her actions put her in more of the anti-hero category.
Yep. And last, we have this filmmaker who wants to do a Blackhawks movie. Have you heard?
Yeah, I think I might have heard of this guy.
He's done some low indie film called Jaws, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, E.T., Hook.
Right. I think the list goes on.
The list does
that's
go
only
on. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's only a fraction. Yeah.
So basically, I mean, what was your initial thought that Steven Spielberg wanted to direct a Black Hawks movie?
Well, my Black Hawks knowledge is fairly limited to mainly the Justice League animated series.
But yeah, that and Justice League New Frontier.
Yes, and New Frontier. So if definite, it seems like it should be a period piece, which obviously is big time in Steven Spielberg's wheelhouse. And I heard that he actually had the idea of doing this maybe as far back as the 80s or 90s, like 28 years or something.
If anybody can pull this off and make people give a crap about this, it's him.
Absolutely.
If Steven says, hey, I want to do this, you say, okay, Steven, what you need?
Yeah. So either way, I mean, it's a DC property and, it's Steven Spielberg. So, I mean, like him or not, I mean, he's had some huge hits, over the last 30 years.
I mean, even his flops are hits. I mean,
yeah.
His flop is like someone else's like greatest accomplishment.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's a DC film. I'm absolutely going to see it. And, the fact that it is Steven Spielberg, I mean, that right there makes it like unlimited access to whatever you need. Like you said, what do you need, Steven?
The cast that he can get, like the quality that he can bring, it'll just be amazing. Okay, so that takes care of our news catch up. If we've missed anything, we apologize. But now we're going to jump into Krypton, Episode 5, House of Zod. Now, it's been a little while since I watched this. I have my notes just because life has been crazy and things happen. But I remember, we get the opening monologue of the House of Zod, and it really, every time they talk about Zod, immediately I think of General Zod. We see that Jaina was basically pitted against her brother by their father and was sent on like a quest to retrieve an item, which was like a breathing apparatus for just one of them. And Jaina actually wanted to try to work with her brother, and he turned against her.
That whole sequence between her and her brother, their history, their training, their father, that was pretty awesome. Honestly, the biggest thing is, it still has to hit home for her because of her training robot or whatever that she was using was like an adult version of her brother who is no longer with him, I would assume.
Yeah, because we think she's training with a person.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually like a program. So I thought that was very interesting. I think it's interesting that Nyssa Vex is like on the verge of betraying her father. We learned that supposedly the House of El had destroyed and released a great weapon before on Krypton and has the power to destroy Krypton. I still was fuzzy on how is it possible that they think Lyta is a betrayer? How is she... Like, what is it that they think that makes Lyta the fall person,
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a frame job, so...
And it's a frame job. Did you remember? Cole, it's Cole Duh, like KOL-DA.
Yeah.
Cole Duh.
Oh, yeah. Now I know I recall what you're talking about now, yes.
She's got a special little friend.
Yeah, she's got a relationship with the head magistrate, Darren Vex.
I'm about to say, AKA Mr. Vex.
Yep.
He's making sure that he gets the quality information he needs. But yeah, so she is basically, only reason she turned and is like pinning on Lyta is protect herself because Darren Vex doesn't want nothing to happen to her. But my thing is, guess what happens to her? Prison shanked.
Yep.
I was like, dang, she got killed. Vex got pissed. Jaina saved Lyta. Awesome. This episode didn't have any more of the cape. We haven't seen the cape since what? The first episode or the second?
Second episode.
Okay, so we're like 3 episodes removed from seeing the disappearing cape. So that's kind of weird that we haven't kind of gone back to that or really been back in the fortress much, but we see the stronghold that they're protecting looks like it has the L symbol, like the family symbol, but it looks different. Not sure. And, we're kind of going through this quickly because it's been a while since we've watched it, and my brain is just mush since everything that's happened. But here is something that I want to present to the fans and to you. Can someone please explain Kryptonian female lineage to me? Because in the comics, like we've talked about before, okay, Superman's mother is the Lady Laura, okay? Her father was Lord Vaughn. So her name was Lara Lor Vaughn. Kara is the daughter of Zor-El, so her name is Kara Zor-El. The female takes the father's full name as her surname. So how does Lyta Zod pass her name down, or in the same way Jaina Zod pass her name down? And wouldn't her name be Jaina blank Zod,
Right.
It's just confusing to me. I don't think someone studied their Kryptonian information, David Goyer, when they presented this. Look, love him or hate him, David Goyer's done a lot of great things and's worked hard in comic book movies, and I'm not hating, I'm just saying I think he does a lot of things right. Sometimes he slips up, but you know what? The guy's got a career, more power to him, just keep bringing it. But it's very confusing. He presented about maybe, the ranking situation. Like, if Lyta marries Dev M, will she be Lyta M? Or should she be Lyta Zod M? What is it?
That's interesting. It is a little different here.
Because they talked about, Nyssa Vex, and they were going to bring Seg in as a Vex. And then, Nyssa would still be a Vex and Seg Vex, and their child would be a Vex because both parents are Vexes, which is weird. But, they haven't how the name passing goes.
Yeah, it's been different than has been established in comics and has been passed down in other media. So it is kind of different. Perhaps perhaps for women, this is my only an idea that I've just popped into my head right now. Perhaps with women, as we've seen in the past, they've always addressed even men as just their full name, like Kal-El and Jor-El, and then the women were more just their first name, Laura and stuff. And it really wasn't until Man of Steel that it seemed and I guess maybe they did some of it in Smallville, but it was just when they actually started to call them by their first name, like Cal.
Well,
or
yeah,
Jor or Seg.
Cal we heard in Smallville, but not until Man of Steel did everyone just say Jor.
Yeah.
And
so maybe
Zod was always Zod. And it was one of those things I never thought about till I was older and found out that his last name was Zod.
Right.
So, like, I never put
that
pieces
could also
together. Like, what was his first name? Like, everyone called him Zod. Like, even in Smallville, it's like Zod.
Right. And, that could also be kind of like the, for lack of a better, example right offhand, when they go like General Patton, his last name is Patton. So like they go by General Zod, Primus Zod, they address him as their last name in that regard. But, the idea that I had was like for women. So instead of going, say like Kara Zor-El or, what'd you say? What was Laura's,
Laura Vaughn.
Laura Vaughn.
Yep.
Her full name. What was her dad's name?
Laura Vaughn.
Oh, okay. Well, instead of being like, say, like Kara Zor-El,
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Not addressing them as a full name, the idea is, like in the Muslim, in the Arabic nations, the children, their middle names are their father's first name. So somebody I knew, first name, Nabil, and last name, because their father's name was Nabil.
That's cool.
So,
I didn't know that.
And that was that all of the children, the son, his first name, Nabil, and the last name, all 4 daughters had the same middle name, Nabil, after their father. So maybe as more of a middle name type thing like that, but they're not addressing them as their full name, like Kara Zor-El. You know what I'm saying?
That's cool. That's a really good thought. I did not know that about the culture. So that's really cool you bring that up. And
that literally just popped in my head when you were discussing it. So
jumping to the end of the episode, we're left with a little bit of a cliffhanger. See, earlier in the episode, we saw that the Zod had like a family metal necklace. It's kind of like a dog tag looking thing, was passed from Jaina's father to her. And then we see Lyta with it. And at the end, we get, I don't know if we brought this up, but good old Walter Steele from Arrow is here.
I really wish I could remember his name.
Yeah, me too. He was here torturing, interrogating Seg, and he's fighting Lyta, and he brings up and he pulls up the necklace, and she said, "Where do you get that?" And he said, "I gave it. You gave it to me. I'm your son." Boom. Cliffhanger. Thoughts. Go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm your son. That means one generation down, that's General Zod.
I know.
Superman's, one of Superman's greatest enemies.
And like, it just completely, I was like, oh, okay, so, they've done a race change on Zod. That's cool. So that now they have their own General Zod, so it doesn't connect to anything else. Okay, that's cool. Walter Steele is Zod. That's cool. And
I actually got his name. His name is Colin Salmon.
Awesome. He's awesome. I don't think he called him Walter Steele, but side note, kind of wish his name had been Walter Irons, just as a poke, so if they ever wanted to bring in John Henry, but that's another story. I had almost thought that maybe he was going to be the uncle. Like Jaina's brother didn't die.
That did occur to me as well, but he did have different eyes. So, unless something was, I don't know, cornea transplant or something. I mean, the different eyes is the only thing that made me think that it could actually be him in the end.
I had thought about that, but sometimes it's one of those details that we might look at, but the casting people were like, so, but it kind of made sense that maybe he was a little crazy or whatever. So that's kind of where my brain was, because the fact that they had, introduced that concept at the beginning of the episode, about the uncle. We'll just call him the uncle. I don't remember his character had a name or not. And then he ended up not paying off at what he just died, and that was part of Jaina's story. So, But that's the House of Zod. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I would give it, out of 10, I'd give it about a 7. Maybe 8-ish. I like backstory stuff. So it was great. It was padding out, but it did leave a lot of questions. But I like a good cliffhanger too, so.
Yeah, now that they are getting more and more episodes out there, once we get through the full season, we'll be able to kind of rank each episode as how they are, as our score out of 10.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to, once the season's complete, kind of get a good snapshot. Because, this is episode 5 out of 10. So we're like halfway there.
Yeah. Yep. It's, and honestly, as the series is going, each episode is getting better and better. And, with this one being a large history lesson, it made it something completely different. It furthered the plot, but only by a little bit, but it gave a lot of history on these characters, which we're only going to get for a short time in one season so far.
I really hope that whatever we get for season 2, no offense, but Adam Strange isn't there. I hope it's kind of more like a mission of Seg or something. Maybe Seg meets it, has to stop Mongol, because Mongol's been around forever. And I don't know, Green Lantern Corps. But all right, so we'll move on here. James, let's get your quick feedback on the Supergirl episode with the Toy Man. Junia and I will be talking about that here on the podcast. But what were your thoughts with Shot to the Heart? Quick Bon Jovi reference.
Yeah, right. Excellent return. It didn't do a whole lot to further the overarching plot of the entire season. But it was a very good character piece. It gave Wynn a lot to do. We got to see his mother, which played by Laurie Metcalf.
Yep. I always think of her as the mom of the killer in Scream.
These days she's Sheldon's mom, so.
Yeah, she's everybody's mom.
Right. But she did a really good job. It was very compelling. There was a lot of good story between her and Wynn. Good character development of Wynn's character. They got to show a lot of the friendship aspects between him and James Olsen that they developed last season, since he's been severely lacking this season.
The one thing about this is I really like the fact that they took time to do an episode about Wynn. Because I really feel like he's a character that's really gotten pushed to the side. Yeah, I know the show is Supergirl, but when you're doing, you have great characters, I don't mind when you take a time to, give a character an episode. Especially, I like Wynn. I think and Jeremy Jordan's acting when he, the scenes of just him and his mother interacting, where he talks you left me, and she reveals, it's because Toyman threatened to kill Wynn if she didn't. And, she talked about where they were going on vacation, but really she was taken into a women's shelter. And the depth of just where that goes and takes him really lets his acting shine. And Junia was really upset because he's got a great singing voice. And they were doing the karaoke, and they didn't, let him really sing. They cut away.
Yeah, no. Actually, that was going to be one of my comments as well. He did such an amazing job. He's got an amazing singing voice. He did such a great job in the musical crossover episode, and yeah, when he didn't get to do karaoke, I was like, oh, That is like a missed opportunity.
There's a movie that Junia showed me. I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's got Dolly Parton and Queen Latifah in it. And Jeremy Jordan plays Dolly Parton's like nephew. It's about church choirs. Like, if you ever get a chance, just find a clip of that or something. It's like him singing. He's great voice. So I really wish that he would have got to do more in the musical. But he's a great character. I feel like he's, today Solomon and I watched, the first 2 episodes of season 2 again, just because, I really like Tyler as Superman. I wish he would have got more. I think he's like this really great in between Superman of Henry Cavill and Christopher Reeve. I think he kind of has a little bit of both of them mixed in there, and I think he could be a really great Superman given more time. But we haven't got to see that. So Solomon and I were watching that today, and I forgot that's where Wynn officially becomes part of the DEO and all that, and I just I feel Wynn got shortchanged at times, and they didn't know what to do with his character, and I'm glad they haven't made him a villain, like made him Toyman or anything, like they did the Toyman as his father kind of storyline. And I think this was a great episode. I don't mind that Kara took a backseat. There was a great shot of Kara though. Like, I love how much she uses her heat vision. And you see, these toy planes or whatever come flying in, and she just like looks up and is like using her heat vision. The camera pans. It was awesome. Totally great. Yeah.
The toy flying monkeys. Yeah, that was great. I love the Wizard of Oz reference they had with that. The only part that furthered the plot moving forward for the whole season was Mon-El talking to Kara, revealing that they're in the past for a reason, that they're in the past because of
the World Killer.
Because of the World Killer Pestilence.
Yep.
Pestilence, who becomes light in the future.
I thought that was great. I thought it was kind of funny how he kept trying to talk to Kara, and she's like, I don't think it's right that you talk to me about Emerald. He's like, no, that's not what this is about. It's about what it was. And he tells her why the Legion is there. And I cannot remember if there's supposed to be more Legionnaires asleep or not, or if it's just the 3 of them. I can't remember, but I'd like to see Lightning Lad and Bouncing Boy. So it was a great episode.
It was.
I love seeing Wynn. I had to chuckle when they were in the toy factory. And Kara got like slapped into like a giant, like action figure.
She got packaged. Yeah, she got packaged like an action figure. And it even said Supergirl on it.
I know, like how planned was that?
Right. But we did get to see, Mon-El did talk about, his costume, which we're going to see in future episodes. We've seen stills of that. We've talked about that.
Finally see them boots, man.
But he's been on Earth now, because in the future he's been on Earth now for 7 years. So his body's actually had a chance to, absorb solar radiation, similarly to Kryptonians, and he can now fly. And he did some crazy cape action with that mechanical Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Solo loved the mechanical T-Rex. Loved it. And yeah, like it was kind of weird how like all of a sudden Mon-El flew, and I thought to myself, has he done that before? Like, I was like, I don't remember that, but it's not out of his wheelhouse. It just seemed odd. Like, 'cause I don't remember him doing it yet this season.
No, he hadn't done it prior to that. It surprised me when I saw it. I was like, I know his character can.
Yeah, like I had to take a step back, like, wait a minute. So, yeah, shot through the heart, and you're to blame. I'm kind of mad that nobody even like started that song, or there wasn't even like in the karaoke or anything. Like anybody referenced it.
You know what? I wonder if that was the song that Wynn was going to sing.
Yeah, like even if he just said, I'm going to sing a little Bon Jovi, would have made it perfect.
Right.
So, the next part of our podcast here is something big happened in comics. Do you remember what it was?
Yes, I do. Action Comics 1000. 80 years. 1000. 80 years of Superman.
Happy birthday, Big Blue. So we're going to bust out this Action Comics 1000 and kind of do a quick chat about it. Now, which cover did you get?
Well, when I went to pick up mine, I only had a select few to be able to get. I ended up going with the 1930s cover.
Which is
it's not going to be my last.
That's the one that was sold out of every shop I visited around here.
There's only one left on the shelf of this cover.
I got the standard because I wanted to have like the regular issue, and then I'll start buying variants over time. But you know what? I like this look on the cover, but honestly, I don't think it's Jim Lee's best. I think the cape looks bad.
I'm gonna have to get the standard art, but yeah, I'm gonna be hunting down these variant covers for a while.
And I mean,
probably actually pick up another one this weekend and have two of them.
The trunks are back, and it's got little cuffs on the suit, which I like the cuffs on the suit. And everyone knows how you and I feel about the trunks, but it just looks like regular Superman again, which I guess is good. But I don't know. I like the costume how it was right before this. If they just would have put those cuffs on not even like because it's not the Rebirth Superman. It was after he was pushed together. The two, the blue and the red, and during Black Dawn or whatever, when he got he looked great. I like that costume a lot, but I gotta quote my good friend Mr. Phil Parrish. He said, "I like the trunks because Superman's the OG, the original gangster. That's why he can bring them back and wear them." And I said, "Okay, yeah. Phil, I can't argue with that."
Exactly. Everybody knows I like the suit without. I'm a big fan of the Rebirth suit without, and even the new 52 suit without, has plenty of aspects to like. But I'm not opposed to them being back. I don't think they need to be back, but that's about it.
I just think they're a very dated thing, and I think there's other ways around it artistically, because nobody, like Batman's not back, nobody else is back to their old costume styles, but everybody wants Superman back to his old costume. But we can talk to her Blue. So let's jump in. The first story we get, it's called From the City That Has Everything. Artist, writer, Dan Jurgens. I have loved Dan Jurgens' writing recently in Superman. He did action since Rebirth, right? Yeah, he did action. It was Tomasi that did Superman. I just had to remember which was which. And basically, it's Superman stopping an alien invasion, flying home to a giant park where they're doing a Superman Day. And I love it. Metropolis celebrates Superman. We have Lois in a Superman shirt, which is great. We have Jonathan there.
I love Jonathan saying she's been waiting to do that all day because she gets to do the shirt rip.
And I still think that they could have found a better name for their son than Jonathan, just because his name's Jonathan Kent. And I get where they were going with naming, like when he was Jonathan White, where he was Jonathan Samuel White, where it was like, oh, that's cool. All three of like their father figures. But now, like, when I say, hey, Jonathan Kent, I have to specify the father or the grandson.
Right. Jonathan Kent, Superboy.
Yeah. And, I like this a lot because I like how Superman, in this, he's not talking about wanting to take the credit for what he does. He's still looking out for the invasion. And there's people here who are, giving testimonies basically of what he did to save them and what they were doing. I love the fireman because, he was doing his job and he was risking his own life, and then Superman saved him while he was saving someone else. We get Maggie Sawyer. I love the guy who was a criminal, and how Jonathan's like, what? And, Clark just tells him to listen. And that's Superman's true nature of why he does what he does, is to help people and to inspire and give them another chance. And then, the people are all looking out for Superman, and he's there. And
yeah, I like when he tells Jonathan after the criminal gets to speak, he says, "That's why they let him speak, John, to remind us that people can always be better, that we should always have hope." I mean, that right there boils down to like everything to the heart of Superman.
Yes. And
this entire issue is all about that too.
I mean, I think if someone was like, what's a story that represents Superman, who he is, I think this is like a book I would hand them. Because I think
absolutely,
if you're just wanting a quick idea of Superman, this is the stories for you, because it really, I was listening to the DC Daily Drop, and I like to give credit where credit's due, and they said that sometimes when you're given such a limited parameters, it causes you to be more creative. And if you look at this, most of the stories are only about 4, maybe 5 pages. So they really had to get in, get out. And I think this is actually one of the longer stories, because we find out that Superman has thought that Lois had been talking to Perry, but really he's talking to Batman. There's an invasion, but the rest of the Justice League is taking care of it, so Superman can enjoy this day. So Clark goes running off and flies over, and then you see all the people who are excited that Superman did, stop by. Superman shows up, sees Wonder Woman, says, "Don't worry, we've got it." He says, "We who?" And then we have a panel that shows everybody, basically. And what's interesting is if you really study this panel, there's Harley Quinn in the back.
Yeah, with a Superman shirt on. I love it.
I love how you see Superman, you see Wonder Woman. And if you look, it's Flash. It's all their newer costumes. There's Wally West Flash. There's Damian. There's Supergirl. Nightwing. There's Jessica Cruz, Green Lantern, Aquaman, Mira.
Yep, they got Steel and Booster Gold. They've got 4 Lanterns there, Firestorm. I mean, Raven, both Kid Flashes.
And then, classic Superman. And looking at this image of Superman descending, if I just picked this book up, you wouldn't know that it's a newer story, because it looks like Superman straight from the 90s. Granted, it is Dan Jurgens doing the art, who drew Superman in the 90s, but just the costume and everything just looks like they went back to being the same.
Right. Yeah, I love this story. The superheroes, I mean, the whole thing is, it's not even about Superman getting praise. He doesn't want the praise. It's all about the people, everything he's done for the people, and, and everything he's done for all the heroes. None of us would be here without you. And, he is the OG, like Phil said. And that's true. If it wasn't for Superman, I doubt any of the superheroes would still be around today.
I love this line right here. John says, "Will Dad be okay with what you did?" And Lois says, "Your father is the most understanding man I've ever met, John." So now the next story, I gotta skip ahead to remember who wrote it here. I think it was Tomasi, but let me check real quick. It was Peter J. Tomasi. The Never-Ending Battle is what it's called. It's really kind of neat and weird at the same time. It's Vandal Savage has Superman trapped, and he's going through these weird different time frames. And it's each one-page shots. Lots of dialogue. The first image is Vandal and Superman in this red fire-looking thing. Machine. And the second one's the 1930s cover. The old style, and he even makes a reference to his lack of power he has. And it's just kind of neat, because each panel is a little bit different. we have this one picture, and each Superman's drawn different. Like, he stops this train, and he's a really big, thick Superman. Then we see him in World War II, and he's got, like, the black behind the S. Then we get this really weird, like, space colorful travels looking thing. And then...
right.
And then we get this one that kind of reminded me, like, it looks almost like, what's his face? Why am I blanking? Gosh, it's too late. George Reeves. Like, it looks like it's from Superman and the Mole Men.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really cool, kind of paying homage to that. Then we get Superman fighting, a fire-breathing dragon, which is pretty cool. Then we have Superman fighting Superman fighting Superman. And it's cool because one of them looks like an animated cartoon.
Yeah.
Then we have kind of like this, him getting shot by lightning, which kind of looks very similar to the Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns Superman.
Yeah, it actually does say Pat Gleason after Frank Miller. It is paying homage right to the Dark Knight Returns.
And it's kind of like it's going through the different chapters of Superman's life. I mean, we have him fighting Banshee on a page, then Superman in the black costume with Superboy, original 90s Superboy in steel, fighting Mongol. Mm-hmm. Then we get a really cool of him being in the Phantom Zone, like Diamond, but it's the Kryptonian villains from the animated series.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that's actually one of my favorite pages. I mean, all of them are good, you know, in this story. This is one of my favorite pages, though. The homage to the Donnerverse with the Phantom Zone, the fortress, the Crystal Fortress, and then Jack Sewer, and I forget the girl's name from the animated series.
I know, me too. That's what I'm sitting here thinking. But the next two pages are my favorite. Because we get
I'd say that one and the next one are my favorite out of it.
I love Superman fighting Magog.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the Kingdom Come Superman. So it references Kingdom Come. And I love it. And then my favorite's this one, the last kind of page here, because if you look at it, it's the New 52 Superman turned into the Superman Black, turned into the Rebirth Superman, then turned into the current Superman at that time. So like that sums up like since like the past 7 years, kind of his arc.
Yeah, that's a really awesome shot too. I mean, the last three all of them are great. The last three really do stand out.
I mean, I really like this story. I mean, the last page is him and it's Happy Birthday. It's him with Crypto, Lois, and John, Superboy son. But this is like the one story I wish had been longer, like its own issue, because I feel like it just kind of drops you in. And you're kind of like, huh? And I kind of would have liked to have seen each thing explored a little bit more.
Right.
So it's not my least favorite. It's just one I wish got explored more. And then we get like a pinup, I guess, by John Romita Jr. And you know what? I like John Romita Jr.'s art when it's characters I don't really care about, like Kick-Ass, but not when it's Superman. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it's definitely a little off here. I mean, I'm a decent artist. I'm not a comic book artist, so I can't say a whole lot, you know, criticizing, but it's just not one of my favorites either.
I respect the art. Like I said, I love art and other things like the Kick-Ass books. I think they're great and they work well with the story. I just don't like it for Superman. So the next one is called An Enemy Within, script by Marv Wolfman and art by Kurt Swan. I thought this was really neat because Kurt Swan's been dead for a while. I guess it's art that he had done, unused or whatever. And it's only, I mean, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 page. 5-page story.
Yeah, I had heard that unused, and Kurt Swan had passed away a while back. It is a good story though. It's a story without Superman. I mean, he's got an inner monologue and he's busy doing something else, but it's nice because it's, he trusts the people the people who save lives to do their job and to do their job well.
And I like how I kind of wish it didn't tie into what Superman was doing. The guy's mind was going crazy because of the robots that Superman was stopping. I kind of like the idea of just Superman not being able to help people, and the cops, do have to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last page of the story is Superman flying, which is great.
What he does best.
Yeah. The next one's what I really like. The next one I really like, The Car, written by Jeff Johns and Richard Donner. And I kind of wish this one had been first, because it's a direct sequel to Action Comics #1. Because the car is the car from the cover, that he's smashing.
Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting because, how Action Comics, the early stuff, it was kind of like, the stories weren't in a sequential order. It was just boom, 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 all these different stories. So it's nice to have this story come out of the literal cover of Action Comics #1.
And if you look, the guy's telling the people who are fixing his car, what happened? They're like, yeah, we're probably gonna have to junk this car. And he's like, a man wearing red underwear. And the guy's like, you ought to stay off the sauce, pal. And, Superman comes back and kind of confronts him. And it's like, I met a lot of men like you, Butch. Hot shots with big mouths and the muscle to back them up. And he basically gives him an option of continuing down this way, with his life, or he can junk it. And Butch basically makes the choice to go a different path. And, he talks about, I thought it was kind of neat. He says, where'd it go? I lived on 54th. I used to get so hot in the summer. We always wanted to go swim, but there weren't no pools. He's just talking about how, things that caused him to go downhill. And I kind of take it farther. It just shows that kids who have nothing to do are going to fall in something to do. And if they don't have maybe someone to steer them in the right direction, they're going to fall. And
it's easy to fall into them destructive behaviors. It's harder to, build up constructive behaviors, especially with no one there to help you.
Exactly. And the last panel is him busting a fire hydrant. So the kids are playing. I always thought that was cool.
Yeah. A part I like of this story here is when Superman comes to him, he looks up, he sees a bird. He looks up again, he sees a plane, and then he looks up, says, "It's you." Sees Superman.
Yes. It's saying it without saying it.
Yeah, it's showing it without saying exactly. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's you.
The next story is kind of an interesting one. It's written by Scott Snyder, who I love his writing, and it's Lex and Superman talking. And basically, Lex has got something that's there to hurt Superman, but they're walking and talking about the past, about an experiment that Lex had, and when he was a boy in Smallville, which I think is neat. So I think, it's kind of interesting that, some stories still tie Lex to being present in Smallville.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about how he was experimenting, and then we see that, Superman, in his remembrance, we see that he actually helped Lex out. And they're talking about the ending of the world, and they're at a planetarium, and, Lex did get this stuff. And they mentioned the 5th season, which is funny because, being in Ohio, we get what the 5th season is. We live in the 5th season. The weather, everything. It's just like...
Yeah, it's a constant flux.
I'm trying to find the panel where he explains it. Hold on. But, I mean, it's one of those stories, like, this one's okay. I mean, I hate saying it's just okay, because it's Scott Snyder, but it's good. It's just not one that captivates me.
Yeah. I mean, it's not one of the stories that has any real action in it, It's nice to see the arch nemesis at this, these two guys who are always, trying to take each other down. And at this point, Lex has the answer to take him down. But, they actually just get along. They talk, they understand each other, because it's not always about just having to tear each other down. There is still more out there in the universe as the final panels show. There's still more out there in the universe than just them butting heads. And they both understand that. So it is a compelling story, even though it's not like some kind of, high octane story.
Exactly. It is a compelling story. The next story is called Of Tomorrow, and it's basically Superman in the future who's on Earth as Earth is ending, saying goodbye to his parents. And it's short, but it's really good.
Yeah, this is the one they released before, and written by Tom King. The art by Clayman. I like the art with all of the brightness and the solar flares. You don't see that too often.
Mm-hmm.
The Earth's about to get swallowed up by the sun, which is ironic that they put it right after the 5th season, because that's what Lex was discussing in the future, the sun eventually swallowing up the planets from the solar system.
Yeah, and I mean, it's far into the future, because he mentions Lois drinking the immortal stuff or whatever. And yeah, here it is. The eternity formula, and she hates it. And so it makes you think that, they got everybody off of Earth, they're living somewhere else. And I mean, it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. Once again, really short.
Well, he mentions it's, excuse me. He mentions it's 4 billion years in the future, so that humanity has been long gone from Earth. He continues to go back to Earth to visit his parents, which I do love the fact that even though it's the last moments of the planet, that he is taking care of their headstone, and it's literally still there.
Yeah, I agree. I think 4 billion's a little much, though, for years. Because I think even Superman would get tired of stuff. But whatever,
Right.
And then the next story is called 5 Minutes, and it's by Louise Simpson, which is a writer I'm not familiar with. I don't think so. But basically, I like it because it's got Perry and Jimmy. He's giving Kent, he's got 5 minutes to finish up his story for the presses, and it's Superman doing several tasks, stopping a train, a robbery, and a satellite in that 5 minutes, and he makes it back to finish his story right as Perry says, "That's old news, Kent. Superman just did this, this, and this." So he just created like the second story, like more work for himself. It's kind of funny to think about, Superman goes and does something, and then Clark has to write about it.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of nice, he's doing a piece and then he's, 5 minutes. He's got 5 minutes to make it to print. He's doing a piece and he's got to stop a robbery. He's got to stop a train, and then, he comes back and old news.
It's literally a ticking clock.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next story is called Action Land, which I wish to God was a real place.
Right.
Written by Paul Dini. Paul Dini, that guy who created, Harley Quinn and pretty much helped shape the animated universe with Bruce Timm.
Mm-hmm.
And
they do call it the Dini Timverse.
Yeah, you should. And basically it's like an amusement park. They're on like a roller coaster rocket of the ship that took him to Earth, and this red-headed tour guide's giving people like the summary as they go through the park of Superman. And then we find out that basically this is all a story inside Mixus Pitalik's head. And he doesn't know how to end the story of Superman. And the redhead is actually his woman. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I actually think that's it makes me think that she's the wife that was in the animated series with him.
Yeah, like that's what I was thinking, because that's what I was leaning towards, because she wasn't the one, because it's the way he's drawn here and everything. It doesn't look like the Mixie that was pretending to be Clark Kent when Rebirth first started and we had two Clark Kents that we found out caused problems and had the princess and all that stuff.
Yeah, he looks more classic to me. But every time I see Mixie or I read Mixie, it always comes out Gilbert Gottfried though.
Yeah. It's one of those things, like, I don't think we've ever gotten I really was not happy with the way they did Mixie on Supergirl. I understand what they were trying to do when they did it on Smallville, but I did not like the way they did it on Supergirl, because I felt like later on the characterization of the Music Meister was a better Mr. Mixus Pitalik than the actual Mixus Pitalik that we got.
Yeah. I do like that they did take the Mixie in Supergirl to be a fifth dimensional imp, that he is capable of anything, as opposed to just the character that was in Smallville, even though I did enjoy that episode.
It's got one of my favorite shots in that episode where I just like when Clark throws the football, runs, saves Chloe, runs back to get tackled, like in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
But I understood what they were going with, because, at that time we were just kicking off with Batman Begins. It was all about being grounded and realistic.
Right.
Fifth dimensional thinking is still pretty crazy.
Yeah. It did work for the show, but I do like that they did use the fifth dimensional imp character here. It honestly, I think we can move on.
You're fine. No, it's all good.
No, I was just thinking with season 4, the way they introduced magic and stuff like that. They missed a step by trying to keep that character grounded and only having, his magic being unexplained, as it were, to affect him. But then the only magic involved that they spoke about was the witches that season. So I just think that was a misstep, not being able to use him that way.
Yeah, the witches crap was a misstep, period. But I think it would be great if they would have retcon fixed I don't know, the fifth dimensional imp shows up and likes the name and takes it as his name or something. I don't know. I don't have the brain power right now to fix it, but they could have done it.
Yeah, it's late.
Yeah.
It's getting late for us here in the Eastern time zone.
We're almost done, people. We promise. The next one is probably one of my favorites. It is one of my favorites. It is called, I hate when the title's at the end of it, faster than a speeding bullet. And basically, Superman, and I think this is interesting, he's out doing something, he's flying, and he hears the gun click, and he knows he knows his speed, he does the math, he knows he won't make it, but he's still going to try. Like he
has to give it everything he's got.
He said, this particular 45 travels at 830 feet per second. I know my top speed. I know the distance. I'm close, but this is math. I won't make it. And supersonic becomes hypersonic. Then it becomes that speed I haven't flown since Pa. And then it mentions that fortunately she rolled into the gun and pushed it. And he says that gave him the extra second to show up just in time to catch the bullet.
Yeah, kind of just the push kind of cleared the distance, which gave him that fraction of a second he still needed to get there.
And it's so crazy to think about. And he says, what you did. She says, what you did was brave, Lila. I just did what Batman would. That was a joke.
Right.
And so he said, you sound like my dad. He says, all of us are here for a reason. He says, your dad is a smart man. And then the best, the little down here on the side, Lois and Clark talking. It's just, it's just in dialogue. There's no picture, but it says, Clark says, I met a good one. Or she says, I see that look on your face. You met a good one today, didn't you? He says, I meet a good one every day. And, she says, people always say they're inspired by you, but I know your real secret is you're the one inspired by them. And it was written by Brad Metzler, who's a great writer, period. And then we get
I did like the ending. I did like the ending with the entire story was great, but I think the ending really pushed it over the top, with him being, he does take inspiration, and, Superman, he is the smiling beacon of hope and everything, but, he feels the weight of the world. He feels the good and he feels the bad. So when things are bad, they're really bad for him. He really feels it. But when things are good, it also pushes him that much harder.
Exactly. Now, the last one we get is called The Truth. It's the first introduction of Brian Michael Bendis as a writer. We have Jim Lee on art. And right off, it looks like a Jim Lee art. It looks like things I have seen before, either from the New 52, Justice League, or the one that he drew, Man of Tomorrow. I'm drawing a blank. I have it right here. What is it called? For Tomorrow. And, it's Superman getting beat through the city. And the best part's the two waitresses that find him that are kind of talking. And they make the comment, hold on, where is it? I want to read the exact quote.
Says, he's so heavy, you think? He's wearing the red shorts again. I saw. Why?
I love it. That's what I was looking for.
See, and that's and actually I asked you that before. So in the New 52, since Rebirth and coming up to this point, my knowledge throughout the New 52 and Rebirth was that he didn't wear the red trunk. So was there a point that he did?
That was kind of the whole thing where Superman Red was the New 52 Superman, and then Superman Blue was the post-crisis Superman, and supposedly he got split in half at the dawn of the New 52, and then during that whole, what was it titled? I can't remember right now, but basically when it's revealed that Mr. and Mrs. Pitalik was the other Clark and causing problems, and the two energy forms come back together and make one whole Superman, and they merge the history and the timelines of the New 52 and the post-crisis all becoming valid events that somehow exist. And
so that is what has something to do with it.
Yep.
Okay, the Superman Reborn storyline.
Yep, that's what it
Basically,
was. I knew it.
Okay.
I knew it was re something.
Yeah, so just the knowledge of the past that he had the trunks on and he wasn't wearing them currently.
Yep.
Okay, I get it now.
And then we get this ugly looking mother, and Supergirl shows up, punches him, uses her heat vision, and I like the way Supergirl looks. I like this suit. I like that it's taken more from the TV show. I don't like when they make Supergirl look like she's like naked flying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one thing I like about the TV show is that like she has like the hose on under her skirt and boots because, let's face it, something should be on under that skirt if she's flying around.
Yeah, the skirt has gone up a few times throughout the last throughout the 3 seasons, and yeah, she definitely would need something on.
And I mean, I think it'd been kind of neat if like there would have been more attention to why the skirt, and she said, you know, just I like it or whatever, because we've seen female Kryptonians who wear just regular suits. Like in Man of Steel, Faora's undersuit was the same as Zod's and everyone else's. So we see this behemoth punching Supergirl. Superman gets up. He's going after him. It's all chaos. You know, he fights. This guy he says, I am Rogol-Zar. I'm cleansing. I cleansed the galaxy of Kryptonian plague. I'm here to finish the job. Your bloodline must end. And then he says, just like I once promised Jor-El when I destroyed the planet Krypton. And I you know, that's the end of 1000. That's our little tease to Brian Michael Bendis' Superman, Man of Steel. And I'm interested to read it. But at the same time, I really don't care, like, that they're trying to say, this is why Krypton was exploded, like this ugly-looking thing. I don't know. I don't really connect with it, and I really don't care at the moment.
Yeah.
I like that Krypton
obviously,
exploded.
we're going to read it.
Oh, yeah, obviously. I mean, I like that Krypton exploded because the people did it themselves, you know?
Yeah, I do like that. I do like that one as well.
I like the idea, you know, that there was war or whatever, and they caused their own problems. But I don't need like some destroyer. Like, I don't know, even his look, I don't care for. Like, whatever. I'll read the story. We'll see how it goes. But I don't know.
I'm hoping there's some more compelling reasons as to, you know, why he calls it a Kryptonian plague, why he says he destroyed the planet. Yeah, it'd be
awesome if he's like this just came to me. Like, what if he's like that was the original quote unquote Doomsday, and then it was his DNA they kept cloning and replicating to make Doomsday? Like, I don't know. That just came to me.
That's interesting though.
I thought if you look back at the Ha'el story from the New 52, was a much more, I think it was a very interesting, complex character story arc. But we've gone on for a while here, so we're going to put a pin in it. That was Action Comics 1000. Love the book. Pick it up. James and I will be back soon talking more Krypton, more Supergirl, more everything. And on the way out, you'll hear how to get a hold of us online. So until then, look up in the sky. Yeah, it's getting late. I gotta go help Junia with the kids. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Krypton Report. You can also email us at kryptonreportpod@gmail.com. If you get a chance to go over to iTunes, please leave us a review to help us get better. If you're an Amazon shopper, just remember you can go to southgatemediagroup.com. There's a portal log into Amazon, and you'll shop into your account just regular, but it also helps keep all the podcasts on and helps keep Southgate running. Remember, look up in the sky.